What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to Pure Evil MMA. I'm Evil Eddie from frontproofmedia.com, MMA UK. We're going to be getting into UFC 212. What a crazy night it was. Absolutely not what I expected originally. Of course, I was going for Max Holloway in my heart, but wanted Jose Aldo to win. He was also fighting Brazil. Then we also had Claudia Gadelha on the card versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Then Vitor Belfort in what was supposed to be his last fight, but he kind of surprised a lot of people tonight. We're going to be getting into all that, starting with the Jose Aldo fight. But first, make sure you guys follow me on Twitter at Pure Evil MMA, or my personal profile, which is right down there below, at Evil_Echo. That's EVIL_ECCO. If it's your first time listening to the podcast, whether it's on YouTube or iTunes, Podbean, wherever it is, make sure you guys subscribe down below. We do this every time we have a UFC event. And of course, every week we hit you with the Pure Evil MMA podcast. Just episode 44. So we're about to get into episode 45 with UFC star Kyle Bochniak, and also Bloody Elbows, Eddie Mercado. All right, so let's get into this fight from the main event. Jose Aldo going in there. He was the featherweight champion for 10 years from the WEC going into the UFC. He had an amazing career all the way up to that one fight with Conor McGregor, which a lot of people is going to remember from that 13-second knockout. But he looked amazing in the fight afterwards that he had with Frankie Edgar at UFC 200. You guys, of course, probably remember Conor McGregor sitting there with his arms floated. There was nothing in that fight that I thought if he brought to the table tonight, he wasn't going to be able to win against Max Holloway. And the one thing that really surprised me was there was no leg kicks. Where were the leg kicks, Aldo? We all know that that's one of your most important weapons. And Max's lead leg is always out. He's so vulnerable to that. Just like Nate Diaz is in a way. He always keeps that lead leg out. But in this fight, Max Holloway did a great job, but it wasn't enough in the first or second. He really turned things up in the third round. We're going to talk about that in a second. Jose Aldo, though, in the first round, he was great, really patient. You can tell both these fighters had a mutual respect for one another, obviously. And you can tell Max Holloway was trying to get inside Jose Aldo's head as we got into that second round. He was really trying to, like, taunt him, I guess to say, like a Diaz thing, or even in Eric Silva, who fought tonight, which he paid the price in his last fight. He did that. But Max Holloway, there was a side of him that he was trying to get out in Jose Aldo where he just wanted to bang with him, because he was finding more success as that fight went on into the third round. And getting into that third round, Aldo was just, he wasn't afraid to exchange with Max, and it just ended badly. I think Max landed a real nice 1-2, and then immediately after it countered it again with another 1-2 that dropped Aldo immediately. Aldo fell to his back, and I was like, oh no, it's all over. It's immediately what you think, and then you kind of take that reassurance breath of, well, he is good on the ground, but is he out? Is he going to be able to recover from this? He just looked so exhausted by that point. Max Holloway just gave it all he had for a minute straight, just pouring it on until they finally had to call stop to it in Brazil. The crowd was absolutely silent, which really didn't surprise me. I mean, they were all rooting for Jose Aldo, and a lot of people are questioning now, is this the end of Jose Aldo? I don't think it's the end of Jose Aldo, but you got to think to yourself, like, Jose Aldo did retire not too long ago, and then Conor McGregor was really calling him out. He wanted that fight with Aldo. It took about 2 years to get it done, but still, Aldo has been on a revenge streak ever since then. Like I said, he looked amazing against Frankie Edgar. I just don't know what's going on with Aldo tonight. Why there were no leg kicks. I don't know what the game plan was, and if there's anyone out there that wants to give me some advice here to tell me why Aldo wasn't using any of his leg kicks at all. I mean, he did have a couple of nice, really nice knees, but I mean, you can't really bash on Aldo's performance too much. Max Holloway is an amazing fighter. This makes him an 11-fight win streak, and this is a guy. If you look way back at his career, when he was in the UFC, he was real young. When he came into the UFC, they were about to give him his pink slip. He reinserts himself with a win and just went on a 10-fight win streak since then. Now you get to fight Jose Aldo, and you can tell in there, like, Max was cheesing. You can tell, like, he was anxious but confident at the same time. And as the fight went on, just like a lot of people predicted, he was able to find his rhythm and start connecting with the combinations. And Aldo paid the price with a brutal 1-2 followed by another 1-2 that just dropped him. It just literally dropped, like the Conor McGregor fight just fell over. It's hard to see when you've been watching the sport for so long. Jose Aldo, an amazing champion. Is he over, though? That's the question. I don't think he's over. I think he is going to come back. Max Holloway had an amazing performance tonight, and it's not a lucky performance. Max Holloway deserves to be champion, and finally we have a real champion in the division, because I was kind of pissed off that they kind of handed the belt back down to Aldo. I felt like he had to deserve that, and there are going to be people saying, well, he did win it when he fought Frankie Edgar. That was for the title at UFC 200, I guess. Well, honestly, I wasn't too happy with that, which is why this fight made the most sense. People were wondering if it was going to be Cub Swanson to fight. No, you got to put Max Holloway in there. There's no reason why anybody that's on a 10-fight win streak shouldn't get a title shot at that point. So congratulations to Max Holloway. We have a new champion in the featherweight division. Big things coming. I mean, there's a couple of fights that immediately come to mind. Now, it's kind of weird that Max Holloway didn't call anyone out, really. I mean, he might have at the post-fight. I tuned into Joe Rogan's fight companion after with Schaub and Callan and Eddie. That all ended in conspiracies like it's been for the last couple of weeks. But big shout out to them. But no, man, honestly, Aldo getting finished like that, I think he needs to take at least a year off. Just recover. I never like seeing a fighter get finished like that and then come right back vengeful for the loss. Now he has to come back and fight Max Holloway, which a lot of people can say this is the new era. They're moving in. Although he's only 30 years old, but Max Holloway, 25 years old, staying fresh. He was looking great as the fight went along and was able to really just get Aldo to start trading with him, and that was the downfall of that. Let me know what you guys thought about that main event fight on Twitter at Pure Evil MMA, also at Evil_Echo. Amazing fight for Claudia Gadelha versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Oh, and this just in, the post-fight bonuses are going to Max Holloway, fight of the night against Jose Aldo, and then performance of the night going to Claudia Gadelha, $50K. So congratulations, guys. You're going home a little bit richer. There was a lot of people calling out for the $50K. There was a lot of finishes tonight, which is why I'm happy. And I want to know what you guys think about this at the end of this episode or on Twitter. Out of 5 stars, what do you rate tonight's pay-per-view? What do you rate tonight's card? A lot of people weren't too excited about it. There were a lot of matchups of names that people weren't too familiar with. So let us know what you guys, and let me know what you guys think about this. We're going to rate it as we get to the end of this show. Claudia Gadelha going in there, getting the first round submission win over Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Something that I kind of foresaw. Karolina, she looked great in her past few performances, except with Joanna Jędrzejczyk, of course. And both these girls, you can't take this away. Both these girls have only lost to one person, and that was Joanna Jędrzejczyk before this fight. So we had to put these two together, the number 1 and number 2 contender. It's the only thing that made sense. I was tired of seeing Claudia fight no-ranked fighters like Courtney Casey. This fight made the most sense. Claudia went in there and proved to the world why she still deserves to be number 1. She's been at that spot for such a long time, but she just can't get past Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She's kind of cornered right now. I mean, you can't really match her up. She's kind of in the Joseph Benavidez chair right now, where she can't really call out Joanna Jędrzejczyk for a fight, because who really wants to see that? I mean, even if you stick that as a co-main event somewhere, I mean, you could, but we've seen it, and we just saw it last year around this time. Can you really run it back? Who else is in the mix? We got Rose Namajunas as well in there. Claudia versus Rose. Does that sound good to anybody? Let us know on Twitter. And then, of course, Vitor Belfort and what was supposed to be his last dance here at UFC 212. But at the end of the fight, he does announce that he's going to be back on for 5 more fights here in the UFC. I thought he might have signed, maybe gone over to Japan. We're going to get the TRT Vitor back. We heard all the rumors. Comes down to Vitor is staying on with 5 more fights. Is that a good idea, though? Based off his last few performances, I mean, his last 2 wins were against Dan Henderson, correct? With that spinning wheel kick, amazing fight that was going on 2 years ago. And now recently, tonight's fight against Nate Marquardt, who's another older fighter, only 2 years younger than him at 38 years old. 5 more fights at the top of the division. How much longer can Vitor really stay in there? This is something that we can say about Shogun Rua, who's also, kind of in that boat as well, even though he just got it finished in his last fight. But there were a lot of people that were against tonight's decision for Vitor Belfort. Let me tell you this. In the first round, Nate had that great takedown within that first minute of the fight. Things were looking up for Nate. I mean, a very slow start for Vitor Belfort. We're used to seeing that blitz, but we thought tonight, was he going to be a little more patient in there? He really needed the win. It was at home in Brazil. This is a big fight to him. If he lost another fight, you're going to have a whole bunch of people just pushing Vitor out into the free agency market in their mind, really just giving up on him. which is sad. It's sad. You don't want to say that about anyone, and you'll never hear me say this one should retire, this one should retire. But is this a good idea for Vitor to stick it out? So in the second round, Vitor started turning things up, started exchanging with Nate, but Nate was really pushing the pace in that third round, I thought, as well. Vitor wasn't doing much at all. Vitor did get that second win on the second part of that third round, turned things up, and was able to land a real nice combo and a couple of kicks on Nate that really stunned him. We got this little one biting our speakers. Say what up to Pepper. I know you guys on the podcast can't see, but I got all the rats running around. I actually had guests tonight. I had my own little fight companion tonight. My friend Devin and Tyler came over after work. It was their first UFC pay-per-view event that they really watched, with me at least. I mean, I don't know what experience they had, but it was kind of fun. I was like their Joe Rogan tonight. It was probably annoying on their end, but I have a blast. This is one of the best sports ever. And to just tell the backstories of people like Vitor Belfort, Jose Aldo, the story of Claudia Gadelha, Eric Silva, people like this, the post and pre USADA era and stuff like that. I mean, there's just so much to talk about. I probably should have recorded it. My bad on that. But yeah, getting back into this fight, Vitor Belfort, man, almost finished Nate at the end of that fight. I thought he could have finished Nate at the end of the fight too. Nothing off both these guys, but is Nate going to even return? I mean, it would shock a lot of people if Vitor left and Nate stayed on. I mean, that would be less shocking than Vitor staying and Nate leaving, right? Because you got to think, Nate didn't look half bad tonight, and his last fight against the Barn Cat, I'm pretty sure that was his last fight, or one of his last fight, was against Tamden McCrory, which I interviewed Tamden before that fight, coming back to his second time in the UFC. He got knocked out by a spinning wheel kick by Nate Marquardt, which was like the reinventation, or Nate Marquardt reinventing himself really in this fight. And even if he got the win over Vitor tonight, it wasn't really an impressive win. I mean, it's a win over Vitor in Vitor's hometown. I think tonight's win should have went to Nate. But then again, there's a lot of people out there that know how they are in Brazil. That's a huge factor going into it. And no, it did not go into the decision with one of the previous fights that we had against Hassan Sao versus Marlon. We're going to talk about that in a second. That had nothing to do with the judges. Both these guys, if you think that had something to do with the Brazilian judges, you're crazy. You should look at these guys' backgrounds, okay? Both these guys pretty much have a respect from the judges down in Brazil. But anyways, Vitor is back on for 5 more. What are the possible matchups that he has in mind? I really wonder. So we got to check out that post-fight presser that they just had. We'll catch that after this. But make sure you guys let me know. What's next for Vitor? Does this surprise a lot of you guys? It surprised me. A lot of people thought he was going to go to Bellator. Was he going to go to Japan? What's going on here? Let us know at Pure Evil MMA. All right, and then we had Bam Boje going in there. There was a lot of heat going up into this fight against Barashashana. The Barashashana. Very impressive fight for him, getting the finish in the second round. Bam Boje really promised everybody a first round or second round finish. He did not see it going past the first round. He went all over social media after the weigh-ins. Of course, these two had the confrontation that you guys can see on this side of the screen. In just a second here as the slideshow goes. But, Bam Boje was really fired up in this fight. And was it a rookie mistake to get that fired up here? And use a lot of your energy in that first round, or even before the fight, circling. The energy was there. Bam Boje usually has that first round finishes, but was it a smart thing to go in there and put it all out there when you're on a pay-per-view card on the main card? Especially on the main card. This is your time to shine. Of course, we love Owale Bam Boje over here at Pure Evil MMA. We've interviewed him quite a few times here. I think we've interviewed him about 3 times here on Pure Evil MMA. One of the best interviews for the first time ever during an interview. I just wanted to listen. I really wasn't interested in asking a lot of questions. I wanted to hear what this guy had to say. He's very inspiring. Told us a lot about himself. Fun fact about him. He's hasn't had sex in like 5 or 6 years, he was telling us. He didn't want relationships or anything. He just wants to focus on his future. His time is now or never. No brownie points lost. No Ted would be making fun of me because I like to use my hands, but then I'm Italian. No brownie points lost for Bam Boje here, bringing the heat in the first round, but really gassing in the second round. And very exciting fight, though. Putting it all out there, it was just risky. That's what I think. It was just a very risky thing to do. If that fight went to a decision win for Bam Boje, it would have been a huge win. Then again, no brownie points lost for him, but a huge win for Barashashana, especially over in Brazil. We have a new Brazilian star. So there's a lot of interesting matchups at that weight division there. at middleweight. Before that, we had Yancy Medeiros versus Eric Silva. And Eric Silva, Brenshaw was talking about this, doesn't look the same that he did years ago. Oh, God, my rat just fucking jumped on the fan. We got it before her fucking feet get. We got our first rat here, Princey. She actually got a little tumor, but her birthday just came up. Jumped on the fucking fan. Can't do that. And then, of course, we got Princey. Peanut and Princey. Yeah, all the rats are running around. Sorry if you guys are listening to the podcast. I'm getting swarmed by rats tonight. All right, yeah, so jumping back into it. Yancy Medeiros getting the second round finish. TKO knockout over Eric Silva. In a fight that really was siding for Eric Silva. I thought Eric looked amazing tonight. Yancy, it seemed like he had his hands full with he really faded in the first round, Yancy Medeiros, and I'm a huge fan of Yancy. I actually picked him to win this fight. But he started coming back to finish the first round and almost finished Eric Silva with a left hook. And going into the second round, Silva really started turning things up. Even stunned Yancy Medeiros from a slip. Or no, I'm totally screwing that up. Eric Silva got stunned in the first round because he slipped and landed on Yancy's hip. And then he stunned himself. And then, I had the round going to Eric Silva, but, that was a very close round. Going into the second one, Eric Silva just really started taking over. He had the octagon control, the presence in there. He was landing a lot of the combos, a lot of the counters. Then he just got caught. I forgot what it was that caught him. I think it was a nice 1-2 combo from Yancy that just finished the fight out of nowhere. Eric Silva was not happy because he felt that it was an early stoppage. A lot of people on Twitter thought it was an early stoppage, including myself. There were a lot of people freaking out about it because Eric Silva looked like he was defending himself. Immediately when he was dropped, it looked like he was in a lot of trouble, but he was covering up in those on those strikes. So very surprising early stoppage, but an amazing win for Yancy Medeiros here, getting that second round finish. Another fight that we did not talk about, Rafael Assunção versus Marlon Morales, as you can see over there on the left-hand side, right-hand side, whatever it is on YouTube right now. But getting into it, this was a huge debut for World Series of Fighting. Former champ Marlon Morales, which I actually got to see his last fight at World Series of Fighting in New York, Madison Square Garden. Very exciting fighter, Frankie Edgar protege. But calling out the big dogs here, and this is what kind of worries me about the Justin Gaethje fight that he has upcoming against Michael Johnson in just a couple of weeks here during International Fight Week. Marlon Morales went in there. He looked amazing, throwing the spin stuff. Really great in the first round. Kind of faded into the second, though. At the same time, Marlon Morales looked like he was winning most of that fight. And the judges... It was close. It was close, but the judges had it going to Assunção on this one. Let me see what I had written down here in my notes. But yeah, Marlon definitely had a speed advantage. You can tell that right off the bat in the first round. And he got cracked in the first round as well by Assunção. He was really trying to throw a lot of kicks with the left hook that Marlon countered. Marlon countered a left hook and then was just throwing these wheel kick combos. That was really exciting. The fans weren't that into it, though. We got spoiled by all the prelims. The fans at one point in Brazil were actually booing these guys, which just shows how spoiled we were tonight. But you can definitely tell Marlon Morales, he belongs somewhere in the top 10, but does he belong in the top 5? He did have an impressive performance tonight. If it went to him, I could have seen that happening. But was it the right move on your debut is the question here. I wanted to see Jimmy Rivera matched up with Assunção. It might have even been better, and this is nothing against Jimmy, if they matched Jimmy Rivera up against Marlon for his debut. I would have liked that better for Marlon. But here we go, East Coast. Marlon Morales, man, no brownie points lost for you either. Assunção at the top of the division. You didn't get knocked out. You didn't get finished. You put on an exciting fight. I enjoyed it. What do the fans think? Let us know on Twitter at Pure Evil MMA. Who do you want to see him fight next? I mean, give him a top 10 guy. What do you do here? He looked great against Assunção. This fight could have went either way. But unfortunately, he doesn't get the win on his debut. And the real question is, you had David Branch come over from the World Series of Fighting. He won his fight. Wasn't that exciting. Not the best David Branch I've seen. And I saw his last fight as well. Marlon Morales going in there, losing tonight. But an exciting fight. Now you got Justin Gaethje, who's asking to get knocked out. They're giving these guys all top contenders. What's going to happen next? Let us know what you think about this Marlon Morales deal. Who's his next opponent? Should it be in the top 10? Are they going to stick him in the top 5? Jimmy Rivera? Anyone? What's going on here? Actually, Jimmy Rivera has an upcoming fight against Thomas Almeida, I think, actually. Yeah, Thomas Almeida versus Jimmy Rivera was just announced recently. We're going to get Jimmy back on Pure Evil MMA to talk with you guys. Guys, don't forget, Kyle Bochniak is going to be coming on as well this week for the podcast. And the Eddie Mercado from Bloody Elbow is going to be coming on as well to join me here at Pure Evil MMA. So you do not want to miss it, guys. Let us know what you want to rate tonight's card, though. I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. Let us know what you think tonight's card deserves. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, frontproofmedia.com, and MMA UK. What a great night, guys. Enjoy it. Behave yourselves.